Welcome to our podcast, Untangled Roots. Have you ever asked yourself the question, why am I here? Well, if you have, welcome to the starting point of the best part of your life. Hi, I'm Jamie.
And I'm Cassie. Join us as we share our perspective from our personal journey of untangling from everything that we're not. Let's go, truth seekers. Let's dive in. Hello, guys.
Hello. Happy day to you. Welcome to Untangled Roots podcast, where I'm Jamie.
I'm Cassie.
And today we're talking about fear.
Yeah.
We're starting to dive into the topic of fear and what does that mean and how do different, to me, I was writing down notes and I was like, okay, how do I process it? And I was thinking about how you process it, and like that's different. It's a fun topic because it's a really impactful experience on the human brain, mind, heart, soul, all of it.
Absolutely.
So you have any starter points you want to, or anything you want to share?
You go ahead and dive in and just start with what you got. And
All right. Cool. So when I kind of was asking myself the question of like, okay, what did I learn about fear? Or how have I improved my relationship on fear, or how I handle fear? And I think one of the core principal things that really helps guide me through all of it is the question that is, why do we feel good or bad? And I'm putting good and bad in quotes, but it's like innately, why does our internal system...
She's diving right in, guys.
Yeah. Why does my internal system want to feel good versus my preference is good? As human beings, we prefer to feel good over bad, right? Yeah. And like same thing is like the energy of or the thought behind when I cut my hand. And I'm going to talk about this so much because this was such a pivotal part for so many things, but it's like when I cut my hand, it will naturally heal. The natural tendency, the organic nature of life, if you will, is for this hand to heal if I get a cut. Same thing with animals, they break a bone. Right. Our tendency is to heal. And so I just think like, to me, that is like the flow behind life. That's like the life force. To me, I call that God. Like the ever-loving energy that is behind so much of what we do, regardless of belief system. I'm not even talking about religion. I'm like literally talking about like even the science of it is very interesting to me that we go from chaos into order type of thing. So anyway, that's where I first wanted to start off with. And then secondarily to that, being human, because we have because we have like free choice and everyone has free choice and everyone life can be so dynamic. So we get to experience such a vast array of emotions because we feel the good and because we feel the bad. So we get to like experience this gigantic, it's literally infinite, the type of experiences that we can have, infinite type of lives that we could possibly choose, infinite type of relationship dynamics, how like friendships, like it's just crazy to think like you kind of can go in like, if I went to the store 10 minutes later, what would my life have been like or whatever. So anyway, I kind of gone deep, but I just said that to me, I wanted to kind of set the foundation for that because we kind of have some like own like self-grace because we can experience such a wide array of things. It can get overwhelming. So I really, for me, what I wanted to share was like setting my sights on, okay, what is the most loving path going forward and how we sense that. And yeah, I have a couple more, but do you have anything you want to...
Well, I was just going to say that I just want to give a disclaimer here because when talking about fear, we are coming from our own perspective, and also I want to be gentle when sharing other people's experiences. I'm obviously not going to mention names or anything, but I've learned so much just by helping others as well in the professional field. But I do want to say that most of what we talk about is our own personal perspective. Mm-hmm. And we just want to start with that because I know that some people kind of take it personal if we start saying stuff. So just know that our heart is coming from a place that, hey, here's a nugget. If it can help you, great. Yeah. I just felt the need to say that. But basically, I feel like fear is such a heavy one as well because it's one that can make a person so stuck for many, many years. Mm-hmm. And they don't even know why. And one thing that I have found, if you or anyone you know, or just like in our personal journey, whenever we decided to start untangling from fear, I feel like what's super important is an accountability partner. Mm-hmm. Either a friend, a loved one, a therapist, somebody that's going to hold you accountable, because what fear does, it's like a vacuum. Like you can start to recognize it and be like, oh, like that's definitely not how I want to live. And you start to release it, and it's almost like it becomes like a little comfort spot, and it like sucks you back in. It's like, yeah. And so with the accountability partner, I don't mean to put Jamie on the spot here for just a second, but in our previous episode, she worked through I was really proud of her because she like kind of just faced a fear just publicly. And so on accountability wise, I wanted to ask you, have you followed up? Have you done the actions to completely eliminate that fear that you talked about?
No, because the episode just went live.
Oh.
Or it's actually live tomorrow.
Oh.
At the time of recording this. But okay. No, I plan on doing it. I don't feel any... No, I plan on doing it. What I'm going to do, my plan was to share the clip.
Okay, that makes sense.
But yeah, that wasn't... So no, I don't have...
Okay.
Anyway, you're funny.
Well, but you have... I was just curious because like...
There's hesitation. I mean, yeah, there's still nerves, but I'm still planning on
No, I wasn't feeling hesitation. I was just showing as an example that it's nice to have someone to check in with you, because for me, like fears are basically like a funnel. Like it just goes... It's like chasing your tail. Mm-hmm. And until you can get to the place where truth can overcome fear, it's really difficult to... kind of combat that. Yeah. But as I was kind of meditating on this and thinking about it, I was recognizing that within myself, there's like a lot of people will say the opposite of fear is love, or the opposite of fear is truth. Like they say like, mm-hmm. And to me, what I felt personally was the opposite of fear is love plus truth plus action. So I just kind of want to go in there just a little bit, if you don't mind, to where in order to combat a fear, so I'll give you an example, like, let's say I'm just so afraid to make a career change. And I know that it's a good thing, but I'm feeling so much fear about the unknown. I don't know what it's going to be like. I don't know how it's going to change my life. I don't know I don't know the people there. Just like all these fears of the unknown coming up. And in order to combat that, in order to disassemble and basically make fear lose its power over you and untangle that root of fear, love is so necessary. Whether it just be a loving environment, whether it be self-love, regardless of what it is, love is the foundation that will help you start to feel safe within yourself to be able to actually even look at it. Because you can't even look at it, guys, because it's so blinding. Yeah. And so love, super important. Then comes truth. And so one way, here's a tool for you guys, this is kind of cool, that you can write down all the things you're afraid of in the situation. Well, I'm afraid I don't know these people. I'm fearing this. I'm fearing this. You can write a list of fear, and then you can go back and look at the list and write a column of truth. So truth is the second one. And you can say, ask yourself the question, well, is that true? Like, I am fearing that they're not going to like me. Is that true? Well, we don't actually know because we haven't met them yet, or, right? So it's almost like you want to kind of reason with yourself, because it's like our mind will make up all these stories connected to fear, and like all of a sudden you have this huge plot figured out. You've already decided that they don't like you before you even got there. You've already decided you're not going to fit in. You've already basically put up all these walls.
And preconceived notions of how they're going to perceive you. And
exactly. Yeah. To where it's like, you're basically like, why even go at that point? Yeah. And so being able to combat it with truth is extremely powerful. Okay, so then action. Action is my favorite part. And it's kind of what we talked about in our last episode, where actually taking action on running into the fear and just like head on, just being like, this is so uncomfortable, but I'm literally doing it. Like, I don't even care. That to me is my favorite part, because I know that the uncomfortable feeling is only going to last for a short time. And then what comes after fear is so amazing. After fear is freedom, for those of you that don't know. And it's a very empowering feeling to be able to be like, oh my word, like I literally wasted so much of my life consumed in this energy that really wasn't serving me, first of all. Second of all, was a lie. Third of all, what did it get me? Absolutely nothing. And so being able to be on the other side of that and experience that freedom is extremely empowering. And to be able to watch others do it. And be able to, and just, that's kind of how I've learned more about fear, is just watching people and watching myself. And I've gotten really, I don't want to say comfortable, but I've got really clear.
Habit, maybe? It's like, it's literally a personal habit.
Right. But I've gotten very clear on what fear feels like within my body. And so it's like, oh my word, like this is totally fear. I'm in my fear space. Like I am operating from my fear space. And sometimes I'm like, I don't give a crap. Like I just want to operate from here right now, because sometimes fear feels safer. And that's okay. Sometimes it's a protection mechanism, like we said before. So
that's, and what highlighted there is like when I talked about in the beginning of like what is different. When I met you, you're very in tune with the feelings of it, whereas I'm more mental about, or more in my head about it. And that's why I came at it from the perspective of like, I had to learn to be in touch with my operating system. And like, I kind of see it like a line of code. Like, what am I coding my brain with? Whereas you were more on the feeling side. Yeah. But that's so interesting that you said that you write them out and take action, because those are the two things that's what I also wrote down, is figure out how your own system needs to process fear, because everyone's going to be different. And as you're growing, as you're healing, it will evolve. And that's kind of where like counseling comes in, is that safe space. If you need to be a verbal processor, because maybe things are really, really tangled up. Like things are super tangled and you need that support with a counselor or with a coach or whatever that may be, that safe space. And then you start to build the muscle. I'll say I started to build the muscle of being able to be like, oh, when she said how it feels, it literally, for me, I was able to finally get to the point to where I could feel it. I didn't at first, but I was able to learn my system to where fear tries to mask. Fear, like I feel this like tingling over my face. And it kind of makes sense because my own system is very mental. Like I'm very, I don't want to say I'm a very heady person, but I kind of am. I don't know how else to say that, but yeah, it's like I'm a very analytical being. And so that makes sense as to why I would feel it in my head. I would feel the fear in my head. So I thought I put that down of like, I wanted to point that out because I thought it was really amazing how you're so in tune with how it feels in your system, that you helped me learn how it feels but unique in my own system. Right. So that was a little bit of encouragement that I wanted to share, because like, the other thing that I did, which is why I brought this, was like I journal. Like this was one of my journals, but I was able to learn and hone in the skill of writing out my fear to be able to tap into that operating system that I was talking about of like, hey, does this feel true? Right. Does this not? Yeah. People like Cass, who are very in tune with their emotions, very, very much emotionally connected. They have she gets it so quick. She gets it so quick, and it like blows, like my brain like kind of skitzes out when I watch it, and I'm like it doesn't compute, but like it's amazing, and I've learned to develop it in my own way through like writing out or processing out loud as that accountability partner or action through it. But
absolutely. And I feel like getting to the root of fear is super interesting, because it's actually one step further. For those of you that are kind of already familiar with that type of process and just haven't gotten to the root, because we're about roots here, and getting to the root of an issue, and fear in particular is a little bit more tedious, because fear can start literally when we're in utero, in our mother's womb. Like as soon as we get a heartbeat, we can start to absorb different emotions, which is super powerful. It's like, whoa, that's so cool. So having someone to help you kind of backtrack as to where this type of fear originated is extremely helpful as well. Don't mind my cute little baby in the background making a bunch of cooing noises. Hey, you gotta do it on the fly, right? Yeah. So, anyways, I think that like this type of topic for untangling your root, like getting to the actual root of the issue, it can take it can take a lot of time. So fear of abandonment was a huge one for me. It took me a long time to actually get to the final bottom root of it. There was layer upon layer upon layer. And I kept unwinding to the point where I finally was able to get to some really, really deeper core ones. And I can actually share right now, I'm currently working through this. It's like a fear of not being accepted. Like it's a super deep one. And it's not like accepted by other people so much as accepted from myself. And I know that sounds deep, but it comes in the fact of something happened to me and I was able to get to the root from when I was 15. And my boyfriend at the time, 15-year-old's the boyfriend. That's so young. I know, it's crazy to think about. I'm like, wow, I was like, actually at that time, I like thought it was like the one. Yeah. And like, you know what I mean? Like you're like in it. Yeah. And it was a long distance relationship, and I had traveled. I had saved up my money. I mean, you're 15. I saved up my pennies, and I traveled out there. And he picked me up from the airport. He was a little bit older than I was, so he had his license. And he picked me up. And when he picked me up, he broke up with me. And I was so far away from my family and friends. And like, I was like, what in the world? Like, and then he dropped me off. That? I know. Then he dropped me off. I know. Like, he like dropped me off at this parking lot where a bunch of other younger kids were hanging out. And I knew like
in the spot where you traveled to?
Yes, in Minnesota.
So you traveled from state to state.
Yes.
Got dumped. Got dropped off.
But he stayed there and was like hanging out in a car. But he just was like, here, you can go hang out with the girls. Like they're like his sister and whatever else were there.
Interesting.
And I was like so like confused at what happened. Yeah. I did not see it coming. Well, he had got into a car with another girl. Well, I didn't know until just recently that I have been subconsciously comparing myself to that girl for literally years. Do you see what I'm saying? Like years. Wow. And it wasn't a full comparison where I was like comparing my body to her. Mm-hmm. She is very loud.
She's just saying hi.
She's just saying hi, and she's just so cute. And anyway.
We'll be fine.
Okay. But anyways, with her, like seeing her with him, like I remember looking at her and being like it wasn't like a comparison. And if she ever listens to this, I totally love you. It was not a comparison of our looks or anything, but it was a feeling of what does she have that I don't? Right? And so it was almost like my mind was trying to figure out like, what in the world does she have that I don't?
Yeah.
And the truth is nothing. Like we're different people. Like there was no comparison, right? It was just, he just happened to like her. Like, do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
But my brain got stuck on that and created this fear of like not accepting myself or something. It was so weird.
Not enough.
Yes.
Like,
fear of not enough. And like, I realized that like, yeah, it was a deep emotion, but I was able to release that just recently. And I was like, okay, I'm still working on emotions from 15 years old, and I just turned 35. So
learning as we go.
Yeah. So it's definitely a process, and there's going to be constant things that you're working through. Like it just is like, it's once you start diving into the healing path, it just doesn't really end. Sorry.
Well, well, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
That is vulnerable. It doesn't end,
but it does get better.
I will say this is what I have learned, and this was my final little note of encouragement, is that the fear doesn't have to stop you. You just get better at facing it.
Yes.
And you develop the skill at facing it, and you get better attuned to your own internal sense of what does your truth mean.
Yeah.
What is your truth that you want to stand for? What is your internal truth that says, no, like in your example, no, her truth is beautiful. This other person's truth is beautiful, and may she find compatibility on her path.
Right.
And as my truth is also beautiful, and holding both those perspectives, which is that healing, it takes time to get there. Like, but it's like, that's what I feel like where you're going. It's like when you said you loved her, or sending her love type thing.
Right.
It's like you're able to hold the truth of her and not put in competition.
Absolutely.
That's an amazing thing. But I think like I think my point was that internal truth, when we start to learn to face our stuff, that skill develops and hones in what it feels like inside of ourselves. What does truth inside feel like? And that's when we're able to show up. Honestly, that's when the fruits of like being able to show up in a peaceful way to family, to your close friends, to your community. Like that's when you're able to hold multiple perspectives, you're able to hold more light, you're able to hold more truth, and you're able to be more loving in that life, because you're able to get through fear in a way that most people aren't able to. Most people are able to, they operate walled off. And the reality is we're an interconnected species.
Yeah.
And so we got to untangle the roots.
We have to get to a place where we can communicate and not be afraid of each other.
Yeah.
Because that's really the hard part, is when we start fearing each other's opinions, or fearing, oh my goodness, like there's so many fears, like fearing being different. Like, oh my word, I have dealt with that one.
Yeah, when in reality, the beauty of it, the opposite, you get to learn from it.
Because I'm a unicorn. And I don't... And just like, you know what I mean? Like I'm different.
Different.
I just know that I'm different, and I know that we all are. And it's just like, but who's willing to show up authentically? Who's willing to, throw the sparkles, so to speak? Like, I don't know, like I've been leaning into that, and it's a very empowering, but there's also what I've noticed is that people are scared. People have a fear of you being yourself. People love normalcy, quote unquote, or something that's very known.
That's the comfort.
The comfort is that they, oh my goodness, they know exactly what's going to happen if they're a part of a certain culture, they're a part of a certain team, whatever they're a part of, they know exactly what the rules are. They know exactly what to do.
My brain loves to be able to analyze and be like, okay, this box is here, and have very simple lines.
This is what's going to happen, and we're just going to be just great and fine and dandy.
I'm just good to do this.
Yeah.
But that does limit connection. That does limit growth.
And the truth of it is that I have allowed other people's fear, so I'm going to say this, I have allowed other people's fear to keep me stuck. Other people's fear of me and my boldness. And I feel like I come from a place of love, personally. But I am kind of bold, and I'll say it how it is, how I feel it, like, whatever. Like,
yeah, and you are very responsive and open.
Yeah, and it's like if somebody doesn't...
If it rubs someone.
Absolutely. If it rubs you the wrong way, I'm sorry. I really am. Like, that's not my intention. But I do encourage, if it does rub you the wrong way, go into that. And ask yourself, why does it? And if it truly is fundamentally, you just don't agree with me... Awesome. I don't want everyone to agree with me. Mm-hmm. You know?
Yeah.
Well. June! Hey! Like, I don't know what to do.
Done. I think we're almost...
Okay, you're going to cut that out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, to sum it up, honestly, I encourage each and every one of you to take a look at your life and ask yourself, have you been living through a lens of fear? Only you can answer that.
Yeah. Yeah, and my secondary summary to that is like, be aware, like you can have the conscious choice to choose that, like what is love? What are you building in? To me, I'll use my coding language. It's like, I want to code in love. I want to code in empowerment. And if there's fear, I don't want that in my database. Like it's getting flushed. It's getting out.
Listen to her computer talk.
It's like, I know, it's like literally getting ixnayed on the xnayed, like, because I don't want to perpetuate fear in my life. I don't. Yeah. Fear ends with me. Is kind of like
Amen.
a thing. It's like to the best of my ability. Okay, I'm not perfect, but that's obviously my heart and obviously my intention, and that's my internal goal, if you will, of like, okay, what mindset do I want to work towards 2024? We're coming into
We're
coming in hot to what could be a New Year's resolution, and maybe you got to address some mindsets. So anyway, that's what I'm programming into my own brain. But anyway. Yeah, thank you for sharing your vulnerability. Thank you for doing this podcast with me. I really, really love doing this with you. Thank you all for listening, and we look forward to hearing from you. You can either reach out to us on Instagram, DM. Yeah, Instagram is probably the best way, or comments below.
Yeah, we'd love to connect.
Yeah, we would. All right. We hope everyone has a great week, and we'll talk soon. Bye.